Hello and welcome to my channel. This is just my own first impressions of using the iOptron CEM 120 telescope mount, which is this monster we've got here. I did an unboxing video for this about a week ago, so here we are, middle of April, global lockdown going on, everybody's making videos, and these are just my first impressions of the scope. Of the scope mount. Unusually, the clouds haven't followed the delivery, so I've actually had about 3 or 4 nights where I've actually been able to get out with this and try it out with some astrophotography. There are a couple of schoolboy errors that I made, certainly on the first couple of nights out, and that was largely down to my inexperience with this particular mount rather than any fault of the mount itself. It's purely me, and there are probably a few other things in there that I should be doing differently, but I'm having to learn how to use a slightly different bit of kit to what I'm used to using. So as I was saying earlier, this is the CEM 120 from iOptron. I don't work for iOptron. I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm not a professional photographer or indeed a professional astronomer. This is purely something I bought for my observing, my astrophotography. I'm going to use when it goes out in my garden there, whether it's the mobile observatory as it is now or whether it eventually becomes a permanent one. So the CEM stands for Center-Weighted Equatorial Mount, which is down to this unusual Z design that, it says turn it. I don't usually have, so apparently you'd have to look on the Uptron site. They'll actually explain this to you better, but apparently this design, this Z here actually is meant to keep the weight of the telescope or the weight of the load over the center of the pier, not balance it one side or the other. And it certainly seems to be better in terms of the bearings that it has available to take the load. As I say, the 120 stands for 120 pounds. That's 120 pounds mass if you're out in the United States. For everybody else in the world, that's 52 kilos. So again, that's quite a substantial instrument or instrument load that this thing can take. And that's kind of why I was interested in it, because I've been using a Skywatcher NEQ6 for the last 8 years, and that scope, that mount has, it's finally succumbed to the weight of the load that I've been putting onto it. It's been serviced about 3 times. It's had new bearings, it's had a belt upgrade, it's even had a new board, but it's just sticking nowadays. So it was time to either replace that with a newer one or something heavier. So I decided to look at something heavier. So I did look at the EQ8 because I was quite interested when that came out, particularly the EQ8R as it now is. That's got something similar to the iOptron here, where you've got the cable management system in there. Seems to be a lot better connectivity than the original EQ8, but I went for the iOptron, mainly because the connectivity seems to be a lot better. You've not just got your serial ports down here, but you can also connect it wirelessly. You've got built-in GPS and a lot of other things seem to come with the iOptron that didn't seem to come with the EQ8. Now, I'm not saying the EQ8 is a bad mount. I would be just as delighted to have an EQ8 here as I would with this, but I saw this one at an astronomy show a few months ago and decided, actually, yeah, this is probably my first option. So far, naturally, I'm quite pleased with it. Just to go over the connections and that's internal cable management system for it. Like a lot of observatory class mounts these days, it seems to come with an internal cable management system. So I've got an input port down here, and this is where all of my connections for my peripheral equipment goes. And I've also got the master mount control panel down here. So these are actually separate and they don't appear to be connected to each other. I've tried plugging into the USB 2 and USB 3 on this and try to control the mount with it. And it doesn't actually work until I actually connect from the USB distribution board up here back down into the main port before it actually does anything. So as far as connectivity is concerned, well, you've got your normal serial RS-232 port here. Seems to work with a little RJ11 type clip. But you've also got USB connectivity, connect via LAN. I haven't tried that yet. I haven't got a LAN cable long enough, but you can also connect by Wi-Fi as well. So you've got a little Wi-Fi transmitter down here. I haven't put the aerial on it. That's in a box still. And you also got a GPS dongle on here. So again, that can go either on top of the mount. I actually won't fit on the mount because it's all aluminium. But it's got a long enough cable that you can actually take it out and stick it on the top of your observatory, so you can set the thing up initially. And once you've done that, it'll be okay. So you have this internal cable management system. You've got USB 2 and USB 3. What I am finding is that the USB 2 is connected into the USB hub here, but the USB 3 is just connected to a single port. There doesn't seem to be a cross connectivity between the two of them. And you also have an internal power distribution. So you've got 10 volts AC, 12 volts, 10 amps, DC input into here, and that seems to go off to your distribution ports either side. So you've got power, got 5 amps one side, 1 amp the other side, to power cameras, do heaters, or whatever it is you want to put on the system. And you've also got your guide port up here. So again, you're not having to worry about long trailing cable coming up back down to the mount control, which is what I'm personally used to. You've just got a guide port straight in the back here, so you can take a short cable and not have to worry about it snagging on things. So that's one of the things I've been liking about it so far. As far as the build is concerned, it's an extremely heavy mount, but then again, it's going to take 52 kilograms load, so you expect it to be fairly substantial. I do like the fact that we've got some fairly hefty azimuth bolts down here and a very heavy altitude bolt back here. It's just a large knob which is driven to a sort of gears underneath the wedge here. So that seems to have a fairly good range of movement. It seems to go up to around about 60 or 70 degrees. But in the UK, going around 50 degrees, that kind of works okay. As an old Skywatcher EQ6 user, it's a real upgrade from the bendy bolts that we're all used to. So that was one of the first things I noticed, actually. The other good thing about it is the iOptron Commander here, the go-to Nova handset. Again, that seems a good upgrade from the Skywatcher version. You've got 8 panels, or say 8-line text display as opposed to a single line. So again, very easy to see the information about the object you're looking at, its position, and the condition of the mount and what it's doing at the time. Having to scroll through everything all the time. So I do like that so far. Moving on to the saddle. It's a bit of a bugbear for me, this one. I've got a number of scopes that either have Vixen mounts or have Losmandy mounts, but there's a lot of protruding bolts on the bottom of them. This saddle down here really only accepts some very flush fitting Losmandy plates like this one. I've also seen on forums where some people are complaining that this is a 70mm Losmandy plate and some Losmandy plates are 75mm, so you might want to check that before you buy. But certainly, all the plates I'm using so far work with it. The only ones that don't work are where I've got a slightly longer head on the Allen keys underneath my gear at the bottom, and that has interfered with this panel. So what I'm actually having to do is buy myself another plate with a Losmandy clamp, basically set on the top of it, so that Vixen plates or Vixen plated tubes that I've got will fit on it. And as will some of the heavier Losmandy plated scopes that I've got, because they've got some fairly heavy bolts and they won't actually slide past this saddle here, so I'm having to put a mounting on top of it and build it up a little bit. One of the things I will point out is that I don't think that was a problem when I was ordering this from Royal Valley Optics. So I just bought the ADM Losmandy to Vixen conversion plate. That doesn't actually fit on here. If you look at it, the width of the saddle here is actually much wider than the width that the adjustable bolts on that plate actually allow for. So while it's a great plate, it doesn't actually fit on here. and full marks to Roller Valley for just accepting that back as a return, as a refund, and helping me sort out a slightly alternative version for this. So that's something that's due to arrive tomorrow. So hopefully we'll be all up and running with just about every scope that I own. And that really brings me on to the next thing, which is about connectivity. I've got a number of USB cables that I've tried using to connect this thing up with, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and that's largely about the sequence in which you're connecting the scope up with, so the mount up with. So normally I don't normally worry about it because used to Windows devices, plug and play. I'm very happy to be unplugged and then plugged back in again. This doesn't seem to be that way. This is a question of making sure all of your connections are in place before you plug into the computer, and after that it's wonderful. It just works for you. So the Sky Commander that comes with the iOptron Commander software that comes with it, that's very good. Works very well with APT and also with PhD2 so far. Also seems to work with almost anything that's ASCOM compatible. The only thing I would recommend is that if you are buying this for your observatory, the very first thing you do is actually set it up in your dining room or your living room or wherever you are, and download all of the firmware for it, because that's something that you might not necessarily be able to do in your observatory, depending on what your connection is. I've got no connection in my garden out there, so with me that was necessary. A couple of other things I like about it: spent years using the Skywatcher SynScan handsets, and they're great. I enjoyed those, but they're single line in terms of information. This one's got about 8 lines of information, so everything you've got, everything you're looking at, all the information about current object you're pointing at, position in the sky, etc. That's all displayed on 8-panel display on the iOptron Commander. I'm still getting used to how the menu structure on this works, but again, I'm a week in, so it's not quite yet second nature. I do like the hand controller, but one of the things I've yet to learn, and it might be me rather than the software, is how to sync up the errors that I might find during 3-star alignment from the handset back to the computer controller. Again, if you're setting up in an observatory, you'll probably end up drift aligning, and you'll minimize those errors. But for me, I'm setting up when I need to, so I'm having to make sure that adjustment comes through. But most of the time, I'm finding once I've actually done the plate solving with the iPolar, and I've actually got my Polaris position, I've done my 3-star alignments. This is pretty much bang on every time it points to an object. It was very good when I was imaging last night with M95 and M51. So I had a little bit of a tour around the sky last night with it. Didn't do a lot beyond that, but that was really good. So any real tips that I might have? The experience I've had with this so far is that it's just like any other piece of modern electronic software. It comes out of the factory with a set of firmware on it, and you need to upgrade that. And I would recommend, before you install this in your observatory or wherever you're going to take it, sit somewhere where you've got a Wi-Fi signal, download the firmware and get it all loaded up. And do what I've done in here, which is actually sit down with a thing on a table on a bench and try out the electronics and find out where all the connections are, because it's not necessarily as straightforward as it looks when you're reading the manual, or indeed when you're looking at the back of the mount. But apart from that, week in, I don't really have got no gripes with it. But then again, I've not actually used it under a full load yet. But so far, it's proved to be an extremely capable mount, as you kind of hope for the price, and certainly sort of handles the equipment I've currently thrown at it. I've not yet put it on full load yet. I'm still waiting for a few other bits to come together so I can actually put some of my larger scopes on. So we'll see how that goes in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll see the last 12-inch scope that I had in my very first video mounted on here, and we might actually be able to use that for astrophotography again, because that is a very capable optical instrument, that one, which I'm looking forward to using again. So before I go, I'm going to grab the counterweight bar. You can take a look at that. It's quite a substantial piece of steel. So picking up on the counterweights, if like me, you're used to using sort of like an EQ6, that sort of 20 kilogram plus of mount, then you're probably used to counterweight bar that looks like this. This is the extension bar of my EQ6, which is quite light, easy to deal with. This, on the other hand, is the extension bar. Oh, sorry, this is the counterweight bar of this monster here. So what I was saying earlier, it's about 26 kilograms for the mount head, compared to 17 for an EQ6. The NEQ6 actually includes the counterweight bar inside its body. This is something you actually have to screw in every time you use it. So again, it's not something you can take on and off easily. And this weighs, I would estimate 5 to 6 kilos just holding it in my hands. And as you can see, it's quite a substantial lump of steel. And I'm not going to get one of the counterweights out there. They're absolutely massive with this thing. But again, it gives you the confidence in terms of the build quality and the build size of the thing, that this is something that is designed to take very heavy telescope, quite a heavy load, and will track, hopefully it will track accurately with it. So again, it's early days yet. I haven't done a lot of imaging with this one yet. Done a bit of solar imaging, that's about it so far. A couple of test shots of comets, etc. So again, nothing that really tests it under a large load over a long period and try out its capabilities. Although so far, as I say, I've run PhD2 on it, and the guide graph was looking very flat indeed. So hopefully it's all good for the future. So that's it from me for now. I apologise if I've rambled in a few places, but as I say, I'm just getting used to the mount here, and as and when it becomes appropriate, I may well post another video about this as I'm getting on with it. But for now, that's it from me. And if you like the video or have any comments, then obviously leave a comment. But remember the mum rule, don't accept bad language on the channel. And so if you like, click the like button. And I don't post many videos, so it's up to you whether you subscribe or not. But as I say, the unboxing video is also on this channel, and a couple of other small astrophotography and astronomy videos. I don't tend to do a lot, as I say, in lockdown, so like everybody else, I'm looking for things to do. So again, thank you for watching, and hope to see you again.